Hey guys, welcome to the next episode of Teach Me in 20. I'm so excited to introduce our next guest. He's a hypnotist. He travels all the way around the world. He's a keynote speaker, presenter. Basically anything cool there is to do, he does it. Matt Hale, welcome on.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here. This is very exciting for me too.
We were just chatting as well. You're a foil surfer.
Yeah, there's a few popping up now. They still kind of get a lot of questions when you see me on one at the beach, but it's a hydrofoil attached to a surfboard, paddling like a normal surfboard, and it kind of raises out the water and off I go. So it does look very weird. So quite often people say to me, well, does that thing have a motor? I was like, no, it's human-powered. But
it's unreal. For people that don't know what it is, go check out foil surfing. Matt does it. As I said, he's got so many skills and talents. We are going to talk about the hypnosis today.
Yeah, sure.
So for people, obviously, their experience with it is probably the comedic side.
Yes.
Someone gets up on stage, made a bit of a fun of, and it's hilarious.
Yep.
But you've turned it into more of a professional and corporate setting.
Yeah, I kind of do both. So I do a lot. I still do a lot of public shows, and around Australia we do some of the festivals. Obviously, Fringe World in Perth. We'll be at Adelaide Fringe next year as well.
Oh,
and so with that's more your theatre style, and absolutely as members of the public buying tickets. And I've always focused though on I've always had a different kind of take on how to present that show though, because I always felt you don't want to make fun of people. You want them to have a lot of fun and it to be funny, because I want anyone in the audience at the end of the show to be sat there going, oh, I wish I'd taken part. I'm going to come back tomorrow and I'm going to take part, rather than going, oh, it was funny, but I'm glad it wasn't me up there. You know what I mean? Like, I just think if there's a chance to make people feel fantastic and amazing and love the experience and it be funny, hey, that's the golden ticket for me. So, yeah.
How do you, though, I'm just imagining at these business events, how do you get these big shot CEOs up on stage to make fun of?
The funny thing is, this is really interesting, because quite often, I get booked on recommendation a lot, right? And so sometimes, we're at an event just waiting to go on, and, we've been booked by recommendation, but the organiser's saying before me, I'm really worried, what if no one gets up? This is a really tough group, there's a group of lawyers or accountants or police or whatever it is. And I just say the same thing. Look, I should be the one who should be worried, if anyone, and I'm certainly not worried. No, because again, what happens is it may be the wrong concept in their mind of what is about to happen, but I come up and I jump onto stage, and in the first few minutes I pretty much break down all the myths and ridiculous things that people are thinking about hypnosis, but also let them know not only is this going to be fun, but the way you use your mind up here, that's going to be a way that after this experience you're going to be able to use that kind of focus to focus on any goal you want to reach much easier, because it is that kind of absolute focus of making something feel real in the moment. So that's a fantastic visualization skill to take through life.
Absolutely. So what are some of the examples of events you've worked at and the speeches you've presented?
Okay, so my main keynote at the moment is called Mind Hacking Happiness, and that's basically for business and personal success, and that's again, there's no death by PowerPoint in any of these presentations. So I think
I was going to say, you've reshaped the whole boring conference.
So that's the thing. So in that kind of environment, we bring something very educational, but have to make it entertaining. When it's entertaining and educational, that's a really good bind together. But within that, I show people how the way they use their mind, the way they think things, the way they keep things top of mind, you can let your mind get used to it. So that becomes your kind of like default program that it runs. Okay. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's like putting your mind on autopilot for what you want to achieve, whether it's like how you want to feel when you wake up in the morning, or whether it's how many sales you want to make in a month. It can be kind of rolled out across all walks of life.
Have you found, you just mentioned before, it's fantastic implementing the comedy side of it as well. Have you found people are more responsive to what you're teaching them with the hypnosis incorporating in it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, with the
they're quicker to change because of it.
Yeah, well, with the presentation, there's no hypnosis as such in that, but we go into some really strong visualization techniques, but I managed to bring that into a real fun environment as well. So at some points, it almost looks like a hypnosis show. At some points, there's a few things where getting people to like make it feel as real as you can. See it in your mind. What would that feel like? What would it look like? And in that time, it's just like when you're a kid, you're able to pretend and imagine, and with no thoughts as to that being a silly thing. As adults, we kind of taper that down. So I kind of give that back to the adults. And once you let your imagination wrap around an idea, it really runs wild. So bringing that side of thing into, what is essentially an educational presentation, again, just it binds it together a lot better because it becomes a very memorable experience all round, whether you're watching or taking part.
Yeah. Do you find people want follow-on sessions after that, or is it one and they're done and they've, not cured, but fixed?
Well, I mean, that's kind of different things. So, yeah, I do these presentations which are for, it can be for 50 people, but more often than not, it's for hundreds of people, so in big conferences. But in these things, this is designed to be able to give an insight into, like, you can go out, use these 2 or 3 techniques, roll these out straight away from day one, and you're going to see some kind of benefit, in your life. But some people from that will contact me, and then I will take them into some kind of private sessions where we do a bit more mental training. If they want some more help with maybe their self-confidence, if they're moving up in the public speaking arena, not because they're a public speaker, but maybe because their job has suddenly dictated that. There's a lot of people in the corporate world who are fantastic at what they do, but as they move up, that then involves something very alien to them, which is talking to sometimes just 20 people freaks people out. So, I help people with that, and I help people with all kind of other aspects of what they want to focus on, whether it's the confidence or whether it's just like the fear of something or whether it's just feeling good or getting rid of anxiety. So all that, I do get a lot of follow-on from having presented a keynote or even the comedy show, yeah.
Yeah. Just moving into the one-on-one sessions now, and I did, read up, you help people who have got lifelong habits. So someone might have been smoking for 40 years.
Yeah.
And you're helping them break that.
Yeah.
How does that work? Are you sort of diving in and flicking a switch inside, or are they coming to their own realisation?
Yeah, actually, it's the second. Basically, I'm essentially not doing anything. It's more kind of the education and showing you how you can actually just turn that program off, or not so much turn it off, but actually just adjust it, tweak it, make it better. Because in the sense of a 40-day smoker, that is just a habit, right?
Yeah.
There's no benefit. There might be a few drags of a couple of cigarettes out of those 20 a day that they may get some enjoyment from, but most of it is just a habit. And it's because the mind's got used to it so much, it goes, all right, mate, I'll run that for you. You don't have to think about that. I'll just do that for you,
right.
Make you think that you need one. So it's just getting in and showing them a way that they can adjust that pattern, but also breaking down some of the myths that may be holding them to the belief that it's hard to quit, or there's certain things might happen when they quit, which are just simply untrue. If you know the right way to use your mind, if you suddenly know the true kind of processes behind what smoking does, what it doesn't do, then it's harder for the tricks to be played on you, if that makes sense. Yeah.
So describe, for people who aren't aware of how you exactly do this, or describe, someone comes in and how does it all evolve?
Yeah, I just get my magic wand out, tap it on the head, off we go. There we go, a few $100, lovely. No. Well, first of all, I find out what they actually want.
Yeah.
Now, but sometimes, someone might say, look, I want to quit smoking, but that's actually not what they want. It then, for most people, it will come down to a health-related thing. Some people, it's financial. There was someone I asked that question and once we started delving down, well, I need some more money. Why do you want some more money? Well, I've wasted a lot on. Okay, well, what are you trying to save for? Well, over the last 5 years, I've spent $30,000 on cigarettes, yet can't afford a deposit for a mortgage. Okay. Suddenly, we're at the crux of what they truly want. Most people, it's health reasons, and they'll see themselves, getting older, and they want to have time in their life with their kids, feel good with their kids, or their loved ones. So when you delve down and see that, I like to kind of get to that kind of answer first, because then we can really kind of look towards that and really, work towards that as a real picture and image, as something that's going to be a much more emotional tie to making this happen, because quite often people haven't delved that deep. And when they do, and they start to involve these other ideas and goals to what it's actually they want, the mind will start working a lot more easily towards that. We're going to point it that way,
Yeah.
So then we have this little chat. I tend to not call these sessions hypnotic, because I kind of run them without any hypnosis in. I used to do very traditional kind of hypnotherapy style, but now, I just use these, because I actually do a lot of these for big groups. So I think it evolved from the fact that I couldn't use a hypnotic technique across a big group because, some people may be good subjects, some people may not be, but I would like, obviously, a great success rate across the majority.
Yep,
so
sure.
I needed to find some other things which kind of involve what I'd learnt, but don't necessarily rely on the hypnosis. So I do take people through a lot of visualizations through the session. And there's a couple of particularly long ones. And in that, we pretty much, it's metaphorically, but we metaphorically ask the subconscious to find something better to do than what it's been doing to achieve whatever that positive outcome they were getting from that bad habit or that protective thing is. So, for example, people who smoke, yes, it's a bad habit, but they didn't take it up because they wanted to put, some burning leaves in their mouth, right? It's because it made them feel part of a certain group, made them fit in, maybe felt rebellious. And so that was almost like a little positive bump. It just happened to have this horrible thing around it. So, it's basically like, let's find another thing that's going to give you a nice kind of making you feel good, making you fit in, rather than that smoking habit, because that smoke habit's not a good one to use for that positive bump. So, and same thing with phobias. If someone has a fear of flying, well, it's just, I find people kind of almost beat themselves up about, I can't believe, why do I think this? But it's just your mind being over helpful, it's being over cautious, it's trying to protect you, right?
Yeah.
So it's basically like, okay, well, let's educate it and just say, look, you don't have to be as protective, in all situations. Let's actually assess the situation first. Is that, people with spiders who can't even look at a picture of a spider, that's ridiculous. It's just a picture of a spider. So, but their mind's still going, it's a spider, get away, right? It's dangerous, right? So being overprotective. So in the session, we kind of metaphorically ask the subconscious to kind of find a better way of dealing with the positive thing they're trying to achieve, or, hey, let's not be as over cautious and let's kind of, just step back and assess the situation before freaking out. So we do this kind of thing while we're visualising, and it has such a big impact.
Well, it must be confronting for people as well, because you're trying to dive into the root cause or explore further and deeper, and they're probably realising things they hadn't even thought of before.
Well, it's actually interesting because I don't see any need to actually kind of go back to a root cause. And some people may say, I don't know what it was when that made me have this fear of water or whatever it is. And do you know what? It doesn't actually matter. All that matters is their mind has at one point freaked out and going, or someone around them has, kind of taught that's that reaction, get away from that water, right?
Yeah.
So suddenly their mind goes, oh, yeah, you've got to be crazy to be anywhere near water anytime. So that their mind learnt that and just kind of went, hey, that's the default program we're going to run. So, and it just happens to be like a bit too good,
So you're trying to basically stop those thoughts.
Yeah. Or not necessarily stop them, but we want it to be cautious if they're just about to fall into some water, they're very close to it, the rock's slippery, it's too deep, they can't swim. Absolutely, they still need to have that assessment of like, is this a dangerous situation or not? Yep. But again, as silly as it sounds for us, for someone who can't even stand near a fish pond without freaking out, which is some people, and I do say to some people who come in to see me about something which seems quite normal, you've got fear of heights, okay. What if I said I've seen people who've got fear of red buttons, and they're like, that's ridiculous. I was like, well, do you know what?
You're like laughing at that.
Yeah, but you know what? I say to them, well, as ridiculous as we're all laughing about the red buttons thing is, that person who's afraid of red buttons, they are equally laughing at you thinking, look at this guy, he's afraid of flying. Can you believe it? It's ridiculous, so...
How do people respond to that when you throw that in their face?
Yeah, again, it's just another little kind of psychological plug in the right direction, I guess, so, yeah.
So how does the visualisation differ to the hypnosis? Because I did a bit of research on hypnosis, and it dates back, for people that don't know, back to the 18th century. So,
go back. So
back
to the Greeks. It's a Greek word originally, yeah.
Yeah, well, I sort of saw Frank Mesmer. He was the first.
Yeah.
On it.
Yeah, and he definitely wasn't at the beginning of it, and he tended to have this kind of very
Really?
weird, like, I'm mesmerizing
That's
you,
the thing,
right?
yeah,
and that's,
mesmerizing. So I was like, is that accurate?
No,
Okay,
not in my view. No, that's again, that tends to harp back to like a nice, mysterious way of pushing this forwards, but.
Because they also talk about like an induction phase where people focus on something.
Yeah.
So is that similar to what you're doing in terms of the visualization? They're focusing on something else?
In that case, it's pretty much focusing on words. I don't get a pocket watch out and start swinging it or anything like that. In fact,
Glad we cleared that up.
Yeah, and in fact, in any of my shows, I've always tried to stay away from like the absolute cliches of that kind of thing because it's simply not necessary. So that pocket watch, it did hold a use. So whenever you saw old hypnotists, swinging the watch this watch, and your eyes are getting sleepy in that, they were just using it as a focus point. Now, you could use anything as a focus point. I mean, I could, use my belly button as a focus point. I mean, that'd be kind of weird and awkward, right? But but I choose to use my words as a focus point. It's much easier for me. Yep. So if I get people to focus on what I'm saying, how I'm saying, really focus and listen, then now, don't drop off there, Carissa. You okay?
Yeah. Well, because I spoke to a few people. I'm quite excited to be able to chat to you.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, what if he hypnotizes you in the chat? And I was thinking, no, that can't happen, right? Because
it's a permissive experience.
You have to be wanting it.
There's a process, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like saying, I want to drive a car, and you say, well, put the key in the ignition. No, I'm not going to put the key in the ignition. Well, and the same thing is, if you want to be hypnotized, you're going to want to go through the process that gets you there first. If you truly thought I could just hypnotise you without us having any other conversation.
People though have been saying, and I was like, no, because I saw as well. There's certain conditions that I guess need to be met for the process to take place. Would that be right?
Yeah, yes, there are, but I think sometimes people are a bit too restrictive on what they believe they are as well.
Okay.
Some people say, "Oh, you've got to be super quiet." Why? As long as you can hear me.
You've just got like
EDM
music playing in the background.
Yeah, if you've ever seen me in a bar and stick someone's beer bottle to the bar so they can't pick it up, it's a loud situation, right? We can do some fun things like that. But again, it just comes down to that person being able to kind of listen to me, focus, relax, visualize, and combining all those things. So yeah.
Have you found, and this isn't to gender stereotype, but have you found males or females more susceptible to the process?
No, it's funny. People do ask me, what kind of crowds, and I do kind of perform not just nationally, but have internationally as well. Are the UK audience better than, are they any different to the Australian? Are they different to when you go on the cruise ships? Are they? Not really. I just find, as long as people are able to listen to me and understand me, if they have true desire to want to go into that nice, relaxed state, there's no kind of one set of people I can say who are going to be better than the others. I will tell you, though, that I love asking people afterwards, how did you experience that? What does that feel to you? And most people will say things like, it's really weird. I was aware of what I was doing. I just didn't seem to question it at the time. And that's most people's experience. But what I do notice is quite often people go, oh, man, it was just like when I was at yoga or meditation. So I do find quite often if someone's already had an experience of, yoga, meditation, mindfulness, that kind of thing, they'll probably be even easier to be able to kind of do that on the first go, yeah.
Okay. Has it been anyone as well in your one-on-one sessions where you can't help them? And the reason I asked that, I spoke to a clinical psychologist on the show a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I asked her the same question.
Yeah.
And she said, there's people I can't help because change is really hard. And you probably see that in your clients. As much as people want to change,
yes,
it's really scary.
Absolutely. Look, and I always say, for most people, I tell you what, there's some real kind of like miracle sessions. Like, like the people, there are tons of people who walk out of a session and have smoked for that 40 a day for 20 years and just, that's it, it's gone, right? Or they can get on a plane the next week when they could have never done that before, that kind of thing. Other people need a little bit more, it might be a bit more step by step. So, okay, now they can get to the airport at least without being super anxious rather than like not even stepping inside. Wow. Okay, that's fine. And then, there's gonna come a few people just from time to time who it's, hands up, look, there's something that's not right or not ready about doing this with you, or you just may need to be able to kind of like be able to relax a bit more before we can really get into this. So absolutely. But fortunately, that's on the much lower end of the scale. So, yeah.
What would you say to people that are a bit apprehensive about trying this as a treatment?
Yeah, well, I think let's kind of strip it away and give you something which people can hang on to straight away, which may make them go, oh, right. Because you'll hear me say at the start of the shows, and I will say at the start of a one-on-one session as well, or a group session, I'll say, do you know what? Sometimes people come to these sessions or come to these shows and they think, that is unbelievable, but that people could focus on something so much and make it feel real in the moment, which is essentially what people are doing, right? Mm-hmm. But we actually do that every day. If you think about it, if you've ever cried at a sad movie, have you ever done that?
Yes.
Yeah, of course, right?
I'm human, Matt.
Exactly, right? That's your mind making it feel real in the time. Essentially, it's a story someone's written, made it up, there's actors pretending to do it, the dog didn't really die, he's still alive and well, acting in another movie, but our mind chooses to focus on it feeling so real, it physically makes us react by crying, or our heart's going, or, a scary movie can physically make us jump. Our heart races. We can make a heart race from a thought that this is real when it's not. So we do it all the time. And once I kind of explain that, people are like, oh, right, okay. And then, of course, we blow all those other myths. Yeah, it's not mind control. I can't get you to tell me your darkest secrets, all these things. Because if I could, would I truly be in front of these people? No, I'd be down at the bank waiting for everyone to come out. You believe that money is mine. Click the fingers off I go. Much easier way of me making my money.
I did get asked to ask you if you've ever been able to hypnotise someone for your own personal gain. But...
Well, I do have a beautiful wife. So, people do question that sometimes. So,
is it mentally draining on you, this work?
Yeah, it is, but I mean, all our jobs are draining in some kind of way. For me, I'm not digging holes on stage. That's physically draining. For me, I'm, if it's in a stage situation, I'm dashing around, and as much, I know the things I want to say in my show, through every part of the show, but mentally my mind is going a million miles an hour because I'm actually keeping an eye on 12, 15 people and thinking, okay, the person on the end there, they're going to be really good to use in that routine that's coming up where I need to use person in the Star Wars routine, or the person over there, they're going to be, or actually that person over there, they need a little bit more attention. I'll go and just make sure that they're, so I'm kind of going a million miles an hour, like, even though I'm talking, say my words in a nice, calm way, my mind's kind of going, keep an eye on that person now. I think they're okay. Oh, they're good.
So how do you know, like you just said then, that'd be good for that. What are you looking for? What are some cues?
Oh, look, some people are more visual with their things they do. Some people are more responsive to being vocally great with things. If I ask them for an excuse as to why they were speeding and it's got to be ridiculous, and they're like, oh my God, there's an elephant in the boot of my car and I've got to get it to the zoo before they realise it's gone, right? Something like, which has happened. Okay. So I know that they're going to be great. If I only have to ask one person something in a particular routine, I just think, now I know that this person can actually project their voice well. They're very responsive to coming up with something very creative on that suggestion. So yeah, I'm looking for things. So there's certain group routines I do, and in those groups, if I see someone laughing particularly loudly and wildly and unembracedly, they're probably going to be someone who moves quite well as well. So if I'm going to do a routine where someone's up dancing or singing, we may use that person there. Yep. So there's lots of things I'm looking out for. Like I said, some people are actually a bit more within themselves. They're loving it. You can see them, kind of moving along with the certain things, but they're just a bit more refined. Because remember, no one really knows what that feels like until they do it for the first time. So is the expectation you get up and go crazy? Maybe not. Is the expectation like it just feels really great and relaxed? Maybe. So, obviously I encourage people to kind of outwardly express it because it makes it more visually better for the show, though.
Yeah. How did you first get into this?
I know, Hogwarts, tough, eh? Tough admission process.
Kicked out.
yeah, banished. No, do you know what? I was always fascinated with the mind. I used to do lots of memory. They weren't tricks. I used to use these memory techniques that I learned about to do these what seemed to be amazing things.
So like cognitive therapy? Or?
No, it's simply like, I'll take it right back. I saw a guy on the TV, someone shuffled a deck of cards, he spent a couple of minutes looking at them and then was able to recall them in that correct order, right? And I was like, wow, this guy's got some insane brain. And at the end of that, he went, but this is nothing special with my brain. This is just a technique I learned, and you can read about it in my book. And I was like, I need that book. So I was fascinated with what you could do with memory. And then these things seemed almost superhuman. You know, if I go into a room, introduce myself to 30 people, and then when I leave that room, go and say goodbye by name to every one of those 30 people, people think it's incredible. But it's not because I have a ridiculously strange mind at all. I learned a technique which enabled me to do that. So then I started pushing it further. What other things can we do with our mind? You know, what other things can the mind do under the right conditions? And I started becoming interested in hypnosis. I took part in a show, loved the experience so much that I then started to delve into resources which kind of showed me, or at least gave me a window and insight into it.
So when you say you learn technique, is that everyone can learn that one, or it's specific to you? Everyone sort of to do what you're doing has their own technique that works for them?
I think what happens is, and I've actually just come back from teaching a group of guys from all over Europe. I went up to London to teach a group of guys to do what I do. So It's a learned process, right? But people will find, even though I can give you the words and the reasoning behind the words and the actions and all that kind of thing, is you're going to find a way to mold it to your own personality. So it's kind of core techniques, but it needs to sound like it's personal coming from you and congruent with who you are.
Yeah.
And I think you definitely need to be a people person, because it's such a people-driven business.
Absolutely, yeah. So the people you've just taught, how does one practice what you're doing? I mean, is it something, obviously, because you get better with practice.
Yeah, it's really funny, and that's something I actually cover, because unfortunately, unlike most styles of entertainment, if you're using this for an entertainment, if you're a singer, you rehearse, all your songs. Even a magician can watch in the mirror and rehearse their tricks, make sure that everything looks perfect, do it in front of the camera. But to be quite honest, you can practice your words, you can practice where you want to stand, how people might react, but the only true practice for a hypnosis show is actually doing a hypnosis show. And that frightens the hell out of people, because the fact of booking your first show and kind of going, well, I'm going to cross my fingers and hope this works.
Is it like that? Wow.
Well, what other way was there to do it?
Yeah.
I did that.
Well, I didn't imagine many people putting their hand up to be test subjects.
No. Well, the thing is, like you kind of, people might not necessarily know it's your first show, but at some point you advertise you're doing a show, people buy tickets, they come along, you do the show, and that worked.
Do you get sick of having to prove yourself? Because I've watched a few of your interviews and it seems everyone's always like, do this, prove it, show us you can do this. Does that get old?
No, not really. And realistically, I don't have to prove myself. No. And, it's basically saying, you're a plumber, are you? Okay, whip out your tools and, disconnect my sink right now. Right? What would you do in that situation? So, I don't allow myself to get treated like a dancing monkey. But in the right conditions, if people are genuinely inquisitive, it's look, we're never going to open up a challenge situation, as in bet you can't hypnotise me, because do you know what? They're absolutely right, because it gets back to this thing. It's a permissive thing. Yeah, if you're going to sit there going, no, you can't hypnotise me, well, you're not going to go through the process that you need to get there. You know, so you can certainly be sceptical, but that's fine. And we get lots of people who are like, I don't know how this works, It's fine. You can still sit on stage or sit in front of me, go through the process, see what happens. That's not going to stop that happening. But what will stop it happening is that if I say, okay, what I'd like you to do is just focus your mind on the weight of your hand on your lap right now. And they go, no, I'm not going to do that. Well, okay, we're not going to go any further down this road. So, yeah. Can
you be hypnotised?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, when I was 21, I took part in a show, and I found the process fascinating. But so much so that I was like, I need to know how to do this.
But since now you know all the tricks, can you still, or are you mute?
Yeah. In fact, I obviously use self-hypnosis a lot, which is pretty much, relaxing myself, giving myself some suggestions, allow my brain, my mind to kind of focus on that for a little while, gives myself a little time scale, and on we go, yeah.
Fantastic. What do you as well, Matt, say to the skeptics? Because my dad, for one, I remember us watching a show on TV and he's like, they're all actors.
Yeah.
What do you say to people?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, well, let's put it out here. The game's up today, isn't it? I've been rattled 10 years on, the thousands of dollars I spent paying everyone off in the audience to come up at the right time and stay up, So, honestly, it makes me laugh when I hear that.
Because you must get it a bit.
Do you know what?
10 years.
I think... Yeah, but now not so much. I think over time, because this used to be something, especially when I started, it was very weird. And I had to kind of battle against like, do all this crazy stuff to people. I wouldn't get up there and I saw someone do this. And I was trying to get as far away from that. I didn't want any mystery about it. I wanted it to be fun. Just explain how this is a state of mind we use, like I was mentioning about, doing that kind of thing, that movie visualization. You can make yourself cry from a sad movie. So I kind of expose all the way that we have this same hypnotic state of mind. We use it in different instances accidentally all the time. Yeah. So, if someone's skeptical, it's like I said just a moment ago, that's not going to stop you being a good subject. You may not be a good subject, but you could be. But it's certainly not going to stop you absolutely. But all that is going to stop you is actually just not going through the initial process to start with. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think because over the years we have got more used to using our mind. Like I said, like these words are not unknown to us now. Yoga, mindfulness, meditation. Our mental health, the way we positively look at ways to forward ourselves with our mind now. It's more natural and normal in everyday life than it was 10 years ago, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So you also have done Fringe and travel all around the world.
Yeah.
So the planning involved in a show, talk us through, how long is that?
Oh, well, that's really interesting. I'm not sure when this podcast will go out, but obviously we're recording this in...
probably next week.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So it's still in August. Okay.
Very soon.
Yeah, well, today I've just messaged my graphic designer with an idea of what I want to do for my show, which actually won't happen until that show won't go live on a stage till January next year. Wow. But already we're at the stage where we're actually working out venues to use. Initially, actually, the strange thing is you kind of, if you're entering it into certain festivals, they have to be, that's months ahead. So sometimes you may only have a show title and then still write the show, which is the case right now.
Night before, you're just winging it.
Yeah, I have a couple of potential show titles, but fortunately, they're a fairly general fun title, which I can pretty much kind of paste whatever I like to into the show under that title. But yeah, that's already started. But the planning, apart from all the kind of marketing plan, when I say we, that's myself and my wife. My wife's my manager. She does all the business side of things. Catherine, yeah, she's amazing. Yes. And so we put months into working out our marketing plans, everything to do with the show, what the images want to look like, what might be interesting for the media to have a look at. All these different bits and pieces. And then, of course, actually writing the show. So over the next few months, as I'm doing other shows with kind of like stuff I've done many times before, I'll also be testing out some material in those shows. So if I have an idea, I might pop it into a show amongst all the other, really well-polished stuff, and it will give me an idea. Is this idea, does it work well on stage? Does it need to be fleshed out more? Or is this just like, oh, no, I didn't think of this in a live situation. Now, we'll get rid of that one. Yep. So I kind of end up, towards, the end of the year, I'll have an idea of the routines I want to actually use, and then we'll kind of really flesh out in a fully fledged show then.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So it's a long process, yeah. It's not just jumping on stage.
Do you get nervous?
No, do you know what? I've talked about this before. So... in some people's eyes, I might get what people call nerves, but I always say to people that it's just the same thing. You may say, I feel so nervous, and I'm like, I'm feeling so excited, and we're probably feeling the exact same thing. Okay. So, if I am stood behind a curtain on a big stage ready to walk out in front of 1,000 people, I'll be like, here we go, this is going to be great, woohoo! And my piece of music goes, which fires me off. It's like a trigger because every time I hear that piece of music, that's the cue for me to go on. So I get used to this. It makes me feel amazing. So, I will get this. Here we go. But, I've seen that equally similar feeling in someone. They've equated it to like crippling stage fright, where it's just the way they're framing it in their mind. I assume. So, yeah.
And what have we got apart from Fringe coming up? Is there anything else from Matt Hale we have to be excited about?
Do you know what? I've got this lovely little thing I've launched recently called the Feel Great Family Insiders. Feel Great Factory Insiders. which has been like an online portal for helping people change whatever they'd like to change in their life. So I kind of polled various people who've either come to see shows or engaged with me and mailing lists and stuff, and kind of like, what's the thing you'd like to change in your life? And it turned out it wasn't just the one thing. It turns out it was, I'd like to reduce how much alcohol I drink, but I'd also like to get rid of my phobia of flying. So it looks like there's people actually have a lot of things they want to change, or if not a lot, but maybe more than one. So, I just launched this kind of online portal which actually helps people put a lot of techniques into place, which covers a wide range of things, and we get into some specifics, and there's some kind of coaching in there as well. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, so that's really great because there's only one of me, and so
unfortunately,
yeah.
Catherine's like, thank God.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So my time is I'm very time poor with that kind of thing. So this has been a really good midway of me being able to engage with a lot of people, and still affect some change. So yeah.
What advice as well, Matt, would you give for people starting out in entertaining? What advice would you give them?
I would say just do it. Oh, that's not, no. We can't take. We've got to take that for Nike, right? But no, I think they should go with what I call the power of probably. Look at something. If you enjoy it, think, I could probably do that. No,
that's brilliant.
Yeah, and I actually only realised a number of years ago that's what I've always done, and I realised it wasn't necessarily what most people, and in fact, not what the majority of people do. Yeah. Now, of course, I'll look at something and go, that looks great, I can probably do that. Occasionally, I'm completely wrong. I couldn't do it, right? But I get far more wins out of that side of looking at it. Yeah. If you're someone, which is the majority of people who looks at something and go, I wish I could do that. Well, obviously, there's no way I could do that. If when you're proving yourself right, that means you're not getting ahead. So and your wins are actually basically like, oh, what a surprise! I was wrong. I actually could. So again, you're going to have much more wins if you look at something and think, well, why not?
That's brilliant life advice too.
Yeah, if you see something, someone is doing that thing can be done.
Yeah.
You can probably do it.
Yeah. That's excellent. There you go, guys. I hope you've taken something of that. Matt, thank you so much for joining us. This was fantastic.
Absolute pleasure. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
All the best for the rest of the year. You're a very busy man. And good luck with all the shows coming up and the portal.
Thank you very much.
See you later, guys.
See ya.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed that episode of Teach Me in 20. If you did, and if you even just learnt one thing, make sure you subscribe so each week you can learn something new with me. Bye.